The Forever Alone Filmmaking Podcast is brought to you by no one. Because nobody gives a fuck if you make your movies or not. That's why you gotta go out there and do that shit on your own, pimp. Tonight's show features James Id, creator of the Binding of Isaac trailers, and the soon-to-come robotic Holy War feature film. Jimmy Screamer Claus, creator of Tainted Milk and Where the Dead Go to Die, and M. Strange, creator of We Are the Strange and Heartstring Marionettes. Tonight's special guest is Emily Youcis, artist, animator, creator of the Alfred's Playhouse series of short films.
Hello and welcome to episode 4 of the Forever Alone Filmmaking Podcast, the podcast for people that make movies and animation and stuff by themselves, because that's the way they gotta do it. I'm Uber Rector M. Strange, and we have who?
I'm Jimmy Screamer Claus.
And
I'm James Ed.
And later we'll have our first guest on the show, animator and artist Emily Youcis. But for now, what I really wanted to talk about on this episode, because it's something I'm interested in, so I'm going to put my own personal interest over everything else, is because I know you, Jimmy, and even you, James, have bought or experimented with it, but I'm really interested in, like, mocap. Because, you know, I do everything by hand, like keyframe, and it's like, that's fine, but a lot of times you don't really care about the animation itself. You just want to, like, make your movie or tell your story. And I know, you know, I read about, like, using the Microsoft Kinect and all that stuff. So, first you, Jimmy, if you can just talk about, like, your workflow, and then I have, like, some questions about it. So, on, like, Where the Dead Go to Die, or I guess the Butcher's Harem music video you did is the most recent thing. So, how about you let us know how that goes?
Well, I didn't really get it till I was halfway through with the third chapter of Where the Dead Go to Die. Like, that's when the Kinect first, like, the drivers and stuff first got good for it. So it's like I basically just went to a local GameStop and I just bought, like, a used Kinect, just whatever, straight off the shelf. Came with the plug that you plug into the wall. I think that's important. I think you actually do need that for it to work. You can't just run it off the USB like you can on the Xbox. So it's like then you just put that into your USB port on your computer. And the software I use is it's called Ipi Studio. And like it does most of the work for you. It installs all the drivers for you. And it comes with a little manual, tells you how to do it and everything. And it's basically two separate programs. It's one called Ipi Recorder, which is you open that up and you can see through the eyes of your Kinect now. Like it's in different colors. It's not like, you know, full resolution video. Like they have it broken down by the closer you are to the camera. I think it's like a bright green. Yeah, and then like the further you are away, it's like a red. So it's like you set up a spot on the floor, you calibrate it all, and
how long does that take?
It's quick. It's like once you set it up once, that's it. You just leave it in that spot, and like I just marked the spot on the floor with like a piece of tape, because then what you do when you do your first motion captures is how you do it. You push record on the recorder, and you have to let it run 5 seconds of just the background. And then the actor has to walk to the spot you marked on the floor and do the T-pose, where they just have their feet straight and their arms stretched out. And then they have to hold that for 5 seconds, too. So then after 5 seconds, they start doing whatever their performance is. They just go straight into it from the T-pose and then do it. And then whenever they're done, you just push stop.
So when you're doing that, does it show you like your skeleton or no?
No, you see everything in a depth channel. Like it's almost like looking through like Predator vision. You feel like Predator because that's kind of what it looks like when you go through the POV of Predator in that movie.
So it's not like, because you know I've never done any motion capture, but I've seen like in Motion Builder or whatever when they're using like a real suit and all that shit. Like, you know, you can be recording live and it'll show you the 3D skeleton live. So it doesn't do that. It's like a recorder and then a converter or something?
Yeah, that's the thing. It records it to just a plain old, I think it's an AVI file. It's just some sort of video file. And that it just has like all the depth channels on it. If you try to watch it, it's just like watching a movie where everything's just blue. Like it's just bright blue and dark blue. Like that's how it separates.
Can you tell how good or bad the quality is from just
Kinda.
that?
Like you can kind of tell if you have a bad motion capture because you can kind of see like it might get fuzzy or they go out of frame or something.
And how much of your body can you do? Can you do like a whole body, like walking across a room, or is it just?
Well, that's the thing. It all depends on your setup. With one Kinect, it's pretty limited, but we'll get into it, I guess, in a minute. But you can also get two Kinects and run two of them at a
So
two of
with
them at
one,
the time.
how limited is it with just one?
You can only really do basic stuff, and if you can't have your arms in front of your torso for too long, because it might get confused
So
and
you
like
can't
lose
cross
track of
them
your.
over the front? Okay.
You can if you do it quickly. If you don't leave them there for too long.
So then you're saying the basic stuff it does with one camera is like having your arms out and like reaching out or reaching up or moving.
Yeah.
What about head turns and stuff like that? Does it get that?
Yeah, that's another thing. It hasn't figured out how to do head. Like it can't do head movements at all. It can do neck, but it can't do head.
Oh.
It also can't do fingers. Sometimes it has trouble with feet. Sometimes it doesn't. And obviously, it can't do face yet. There's no facial
with one
recognition.
or a period.
Period. It can't do any of that stuff yet.
I saw some experimental thing that this dude figured out with the Kinect, and he was doing facial motion capture, but he hasn't like released it or didn't tell anyone. So people are working on it. So hopefully that comes out.
Maybe there's something I don't know about it yet.
It's
I've
not
never
public
done
or anything. It was just like this research thing. There's a video on YouTube where if we have show notes, I'll put it in there. But it looks pretty tight, and it's this guy like showing his video with his Kinect, and then like his morphed or his 3D model doing like lip sync or doing all the movements. So, but not yet. You're saying in that one it doesn't do facial stuff.
No, it can't do any of that yet. So then, like after it makes that AVI file or whatever, then you open up the other program, which is just IPI Studio, and you import that. And then, based on the background plate that you have, and based on the T-pose, it kind of separates all that for you, and it makes into like a 3D world that you can kind of move your mouse around now. You can like move it around and see like actual depth channels and stuff like that, like you're in 3D space.
Oh, okay.
So then they have their default rig, and you bring it in, and you line it up to the T-pose on the actor. Like that's how you line it up now. You line up your guy to that, and you push like a series of calibration buttons. I don't remember what it is off the top of my head. But it's like you just push a series of buttons. It's nothing like complex at all, and it kind of auto rigs it to it and like fine tunes it.
And you have to do that every time for every clip, or does it remember it and then you can go?
No, for every single clip you got to do that. That's why you have to start out with the T-pose every single time.
I see.
So then, basically, after you get them after you get them stuck to your T-posed character, you just kind of push a button where it goes through frame by frame and analyzes it. Mm-hmm. And then after all that, like it takes a while depending on your setup and your video card.
Like
and
how long does it take?
It could take a few minutes,
that's
depending on how long the clip is. It also depends on your video card. Like I have an ATI 5770, and it doesn't take very long. I guess better video cards are quicker. So then after that, there's like post-jitter things you can do to get rid of some of the jitter. It's just another thing that you run, and it does most of the work for you.
But you probably want the jitter, right? Because it looks freaky.
I usually try to take it off because it looks too freaky sometimes. It looks too unrealistic.
Because, in my keyframe animation, I had vibrate tags on all the like limbs a lot of times to make it look freaky, so I bet that's like jitter or something.
Oh, this is like convulsion jitters, like shivering violently jitters. You gotta get rid of some.
Oh, like the spine will flip or like wow, like some crazy.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
And then, depending on your track, you can watch it through again and fine tune it, whatever you got to do. And then when it's time to export it, it's just basically you import a BVH of your character file, like you export one through Cinema 4D or Poser or whatever you use, and then it maps its from the default. Yeah, so it maps its default shoulder to your rig's default shoulder.
But it has to be a BVH. It has to be BVH.
Yes, but I think so. I think so. That's how I've done it. Maybe there's another way to do it.
Does it do FBX or anything too, or just BVH?
I have no idea. Maybe.
It probably just does BVH.
So it's like then you do that, and it auto-tunes it to the character's arms and legs and everything if you have it set up right. And then you just re-export it again as a BVH file, or maybe another file format, but I just do BVH. And then I import that into whatever program I use next, whether it be DAZ Studio or straight into Cinema 4D, but I usually go through DAZ Studio once to make sure everything looks okay.
Yeah, because I'm pretty sure DAZ and Poser use the same BVH standard, so you can bring those in and out. And then in Cinema 4D, I think in the newest version, I'm not really using it, but I think they have a rig that's already made for BVH or something, like one of their pre-made characters to bring it in. Because that's like something else. If your 3D program doesn't have the same rig, then it's like, then you have to remap all the controllers again. Because like I was screwing around with Endorphin, which is like a virtual stuntman program. And it exports BVHs, but then the BVH was different than my rig in Cinema 4D, so then my options were either to make a new skeleton just for those BVHs or remap, which is called retargeting or retarget the BVH goals to mine and stuff. And it was just like too complicated. So I was like, oh, forget it. But yeah, so that's the limitations with one Kinect.
Mm-hmm.
So you're saying it's just like kind of torso movements, but not full body, or can you get just legs moving up and down, or someone standing, or how much can it do?
It can do, I mean, you can do walking. It's just that if you only have one Kinect, it's that it doesn't have enough space. It can't pick up that amount of space.
And the legs might look weird when they cross over each other or something.
Yeah, exactly. And when you, like, doing arm movement and stuff, when it crosses in front of your chest, sometimes it'll lose it for a split second, but then catch it again, so you'll have, like, a weird arm motion, which you can cut out later if you, like, have the patience to edit it and, like, really go through it and do it a keyframe at a time.
Yeah, and I know, just as a note, because you're going through Interposer in the Cinema 4D, right?
Yeah.
To get your characters in. And I saw it, I haven't tried it because I don't have a Kinect, but these German dudes made a Kinect plugin for Cinema 4D so you can take it like straight into Cinema 4D.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't have a Kinect, but that's something I want to try. And then so what's the ideal setup, or what do you want to do next so you can get like full body like dope shit?
Well, for what I want to do next is you can also use PS3i cameras. They're the webcams that they invented for PS3.
Mm-hmm.
And they're really not very expensive. They're like, you can find them used for like roughly $20 to $25 a piece.
Mm-hmm.
And IPI also has a system to do either 4 or 6 of those, and it's basically whichever one you pick is more accurate. So I want to switch to the 6 camera system because the way I price it out with all the cheap tripods and some extension cords and stuff like that, you can like switch to the 6 camera system for roughly $250 about American. $250 American.
What does that give you? Is that like super high quality?
Well, yeah, because now you set up the camera like all the cameras like a big kind of circle around the actor, and it captures it from all these different points now. It's a little tricky to set up, and you have to have good hardware. Like you have to have a hard drive with a SSD in it, which I do
for all the data. Yeah.
Yeah, because it can't. It's just pulling from 6 cameras like that can use up a lot of.
And how much is like used? What is that, like $150 or something for all that stuff?
For an SSD?
For the 6 cameras and.
Like roughly $250 about. Like maybe you can get away with a little cheaper if you really like just watch, Amazon's used market and just buy it for a couple a day. You know what I mean?
So, and what will that give you when you have 6?
You have a much larger space, and you can do 2 actors at a time.
And they can spin around and walk and jump and like everything. Mm-hmm. You get full body.
Yep. Yeah, and you have like I forget, they have a thing like a manual you can look at to get the exact dimensions, but I think it's like you get a 13 by 13 foot space if you switch to the 6 camera system that you can use.
And then you can have character interaction and all that shit.
Yeah, they can't cross for too long because it does still have trouble losing it.
Don't cross the streams.
Yeah, and it uses up a lot more data too because it's pulling, you're technically making 6 videos instead of just 1. And there's also a 2 Kinect system. I'm not positive. I haven't really looked too much into that one because it just seemed better to go to the other one anyway.
So you haven't tried this yet, but that's what you're going to do.
Yeah, there's plenty of videos on YouTube that has set it up. Oh, and you need like an LED flashlight to calibrate it. Like you gotta do all these weird things. There's a video on it to do it
but
on YouTube.
Do you think once it's well, I guess you're gonna find out if it's like saves a bunch of time once, because that's always been my thing. It's like if it's just like a basic movement of a person, it's like can it be keyframed faster than it can be mocap to process all the clips?
Well, the way I did it for my last movie was I wrote down every kind of, like since I was halfway through the movie, I wrote down every motion I would need to finish the movie. And then I set up the Kinect, and my friend Victor Bonacore we just kind of did it all in one like long session. Mm-hmm. And I just had him do all the movements just like one at a time. Like, okay, go to the X and do this. And then we do it and then do the next one. So I just set it up once and did it like a whole day and just got everything I needed.
It would be an interesting experiment to do like something where there's like maybe 10 shots that you would need for a movie, and then have someone do it with motion capture, and then someone keyframe it, like keyframe the same shots, and then see which one's faster, what happens, and like to kind of figure that stuff out. Yeah,
that would be very cool. It's just I use it because it's easier for me, like because I'm not the greatest animator in the world, so keyframing I'm usually not very accurate with.
Yeah, and I mean that's what this podcast is all about. It's just about not being hung up on technicalities or techniques and just like making your movie.
And the thing with mocap is you don't have to use the whole file every time. You can use just the arm from one, just the leg from one, You can mix and match them too.
So, like, here's a question I had. So, okay, you have a 13 by 13 foot space when you do that. Because my thing was always like, what if you had like a room and you wanted a character to walk in a 3D room and then stop in a certain place? Like, how do you deal with scale? You know what I mean? Like, but I guess if you're not doing stuff where they're actually walking around the room, that doesn't really matter. So you just have them walk in place?
Yeah, I mean, the walking ones I just use stock motion capture. Because I don't like it. That it already has it calculated for like the distance they would walk and everything. Then too, I mainly just use motion capture for like one place animation.
Because in my brain, that always stopped me. I was like, well, fuck, how would I do that? Like, how would I work out the scale and how would they move? But I guess that makes sense. So then you have because that's kind of the way I work too. Like when I do the keyframe animation, then I save them as motion clips in Cinema 4D, and then it's just like motion capture. So then I'd have my walks and runs, and then I just put them on a spline, align the spline, and have them move along it. So it's the same thing you're doing. It's just a different source.
Yeah. It's just you mix and match, and you just get like a whole library of it eventually. And there's plenty of sites with just stock motion capture you can buy and trade. You can theoretically sell your own too, because all those markets are like user generated anyway, like Renderosity and everything.
So it's all stuff. It's stuff like if you had a dude like sitting at a table, like talking and smoking a cigarette or something, like that's something you would motion capture.
And the thing is, since it's 3D, you just put it on your model and you can render it, from 6 different angles and have 6 different shots. Technically, that's how I do it. That's how I cheat it all the time.
That's a good. Well, sweet. Well, once you get that thing, you have to, let us know how.
Yeah,
I'm
like in the next month or so, I'm gonna invest in the new 6 camera system because I want to do that for my next movie.
So I'm just mocap curious. When you, Jimmy, you're experienced, and then right, James, did you get a Kinect and start messing with it?
I got a Kinect, but I didn't do anything really as precise as Jimmy. There was a program someone put out that was free using the drivers that first came out with for the Kinect when the Kinect was hacked. And the software is called Brekel Kinect, I believe. Yeah, Brekel Kinect. Brekel. And what it does is it sounds a lot like the IPI Studio, where you see a 3D version of what the camera sees, and you can put out a BVH file. But I really was too impatient to actually have it do anything accurate. So what I usually did was I imported that BVH file into Cinema 4D, and then I just the hell was it called? I put a constraint on one of my
constrain the goals to your rig or something.
Yeah, so that I wouldn't necessarily get a precise movement, but I would get an organic movement. So it would be perfect for something like making tentacles, or making things move in an organic way that you really would have trouble doing quickly. Keyframe. So what do you want to use it for, or what was your intention My intention was to make really unexpected animations out of really organic things that aren't necessarily human or humanoid.
Yeah, that's the same thing I would want to do with it.
Because I think I'm a big fan of just breaking things and seeing how it works while it's broken. And I think having knowing absolutely nothing about the motion capture, knowing absolutely nothing about making my skeletons work with the software, allows me to get these really strange movements that I couldn't predict.
So you just want it as a movement source, not necessarily a human movement source, but just a source of movement.
Yes, it gives me that Nick Cage element.
Yeah. So, what's your next step in using it? Are you going to use it in something, or is it set up and you're going to do it?
I have it. It's easy to set up. I got my El Cheapo tripod, and I just need to hook it up to my either my laptop or my PC. I'm definitely going to be using it with any of the shorts I do that are going to have bizarre creatures in it, and especially with my feature film. It's going to have my feature film has a lot of things that aren't humanoid. It has tentacles and what have you.
And what feature film are you talking about, James?
I'm talking about my feature film, Robotic Holy War.
Okay.
And I think it's going to be perfect for that. I also think it's perfect for kind of But it's perfect for like, I guess like, how do I say this? It's you know how, when you played with your action figures as a kid, and you would grab one guy and you grab another guy and you shake them as they talk.
Yeah.
I always thought it would be really cool to take this Kinect, record myself moving like where the plane would go, and move where the, you know, my hand would be where the cloud goes, and then actually put constraints on those objects using my motion. So I'm actually moving everything around with my body instead of,
you know, here's what's interesting too, just about keyframe animation. Like when you're doing keyframe animation, you act out every shot. Like you have to act it out, and you're actually like, say it's a shot of like you sitting on the ground and then standing up, and like, you know, when you're keyframing, you're like because animators like actually use stopwatches, and you time yourself, and you're like, okay, my leg moves here at 1 second, and then 10 frames later my arm's up, right? So it's almost like you're tracing motion already. And then something I didn't know because I didn't study animation, but as I went and, you know, watched tutorials or saw how dudes do things, and even the highest level animators use a shitload of reference, or they'll actually watch a video of themselves or someone else doing the action and just like replicate it, right? So if you think of it at the base level, you know, animation is sort of kind of doing motion capture, but there's a human in between that's like massaging it or adding more style or more swing to it in the way they want. So I think when you're using motion capture with the machine, it's just the machine's interpreting it, and it's usually not giving you an abstract interpretation, but a literal one, right? So you get all the weird jitters and like all that shit. Whereas when the human's watching the animation or doing it, then I'm smoothing it out, or I'm making it look the way I want. But I think, because, you know, a lot of people in traditional animation are like, oh, fuck mocap, and mocap this or that, and it's, you know, they look at it because it's a threat, because they don't want to lose their job to someone, you know, doing mocap. But for me, you know, I do animation, but I make movies, and I'm like, well, fuck it. I only animate through keyframes because I have to. But if it comes down to us just putting a little suit on or getting in front of the camera and acting out every role in the whole movie, and it's just that fast and easy, then like, why not, right?
Yeah, I have a fascination with a lot of the strange inputs with Cinema 4D and After Effects, like After Effects motion sketch, and Cinema 4D's was Cappuccino. So I always thought it would be really cool. Something like Breath Kinect would be a really cool tool for like actually doing like a 3D puppet show. Like you would, you know, mark out on a table or something, you know, this is my stage, this is where all the points are, this is where the table is, my right hand is this character, my left hand is the other.
Yeah, and I actually saw a company that made like an armature, like a real physical armature, like a little robot, and then it records all its motions to mocap, so then you pretty much do like stop motion with this armature, but then it records it to like mocap, like BVH 3D data or whatever, and I was like, oh, that's kind of cool. But then, yeah, it would be better if it was like, I mean, what if you just had like a toy, like an action figure, and you just move that, like, you know, through motion capture? But I think it's all going in the same place, because even when you're doing keyframe, you have to act it out. So what
if anyone knows like electronic stuff, they could certainly make probably a motion, like a puppet thing, an action figure that would record your motions. It would be really easy using something like an Arduino.
Yeah, you know who already does that is a Jim Henson factory, or Jim Henson Puppet Company. I just saw this video online where they show their pipeline of how they do this kids show, and they have like 6 actors all wearing mocap, and they're recording them in real time, and it's being translated to like 3D models in a 3D world, and then like the motion and all the whatever, it looks really good. So they're doing, you know, 3D puppet.
I'm just saying it would be really easy for like a no budget animator to do it with, you know, a Arduino circuit board and using like a MIDI plugin for like Cinema 4D.
Yeah.
And the Arduino would take any motions you would do and transform it into a MIDI, and use that MIDI in Cinema 4D to do your motions.
Yeah, I don't remember the name of it, but there is a plugin for Cinema 4D that will allow you to use a MIDI controller to move objects in the viewport, but you can't do it in real time, which sucks.
So, but yeah, I think it would be really cool, because like you could just like make a little armature. You would have pentameters for like all the joints, Yeah, rig that up to our Arduino, have that go. It would be really cool to experiment with. In fact, I want to do that.
Yeah, and I have to look it up, but I was at Virginia Commonwealth University a couple years ago, and there was a woman in the arts programming department, and her whole thing was doing 3D puppetry, so coming up with techniques to control 3D models, and then it was based on like Korean shadow puppetry or something, but it was really interesting stuff. And so that's why I'm looking into mocap, but see, where does the human style, because I think people that do animation would be like, yeah, but you can't put your style into it because it's just, because a person can't do things that you could just make up through a model, but I guess. So maybe the ideas and projects that you're trying to realize, if you could, maybe you just do it in live action with real people. Yes or no?
I mean, you could do it. I think the point of doing animations, it's easier to do without too many real people. With motion capture, you could just have one person play every actor in your film if you wanted to.
Yeah, you know what I'm getting at though? Like if is the idea to be animated, or it's animation because, that's what we got that we can get for free or really cheap and realize the ideas.
That's why I started doing animation, yeah.
That's why I got into it too, so I already know the answer, but I was just making it dramatic for people listening. So it sounds like
there's other people involved.
So it sounds like it is practical. Well, it is, because you already used it, and you're going to use it more in the future. So yeah, I want to check that out too for myself. I think James died because I stopped hearing that sound. Are you dead, James?
No, I just muted my mic.
Oh, okay. He's ashamed.
I needed a burp and fart.
Oh. Dude, I'm going to edit that out of the podcast. We don't need to know that. Okay, so 6 cameras, you're going to get that. You're already doing it, James. And so would it be worth it for me to get one Kinect and mess with it, or should I not?
I have no idea how you still use the Cactus Dan rigs, right? Mm-hmm. You might have to look up specifically if it works with those rigs yet, because I think they're only calibrated for certain ones. Like, I was surprised the Poser one was on there, but I guess a lot of people would use it for that.
Okay.
Well, M-Dot, I would say, how much do you use the cappuccino and the motion sketch?
Not at all anymore.
Okay. If you can't find any documentation on how to do motion cap with Kinect with your rig, or if you don't think you would be able to go to a rig that...
Oh yeah, no, I can. I did it before with Endorphin, so I think I still have that around somewhere.
I would say it's cheap. If you get a used Kinect, it's probably cheap enough to at least experiment with. And Jim, I wanted to ask you, does IPI Studio render out depth information, like strict depth information, so you can kind of do, I don't know, stuff with just
depth of maps are good to have.
I mean, I'm not really sure. It might. I've never had to use it for that, so I don't know.
Okay. Well,
as I would say, worst case scenario, you could probably get the Kinect and just use the depth information from it for like cool effects and stuff.
Yeah.
Or even cooler, I know with Breckle Kinect you can kind of in like low resolution scan something in 3D, and you can make a model off of it. So you could probably take something you found at like a thrift shop, put it in front of the Kinect, hit record, and it'll make a 3D mesh based off of what you put right in front of it.
But the topology will be horrible. Think of the topology, James.
Screw topology.
No, topology will screw you then, my friend. Why are my renders flickering? Why is this happening? Topology, I tell you.
That's why I say, dude, go on a ZBrush and retopologize.
Dude, I'm not for retopologizing. So if people don't know what retopologizing is, it's a process in production where it's like you model some object not really caring about the topology. In ZBrush or whatever, pulling polygons, stretching shit out. And it's all fucked up, but it looks the way you want, or it's too high poly. And then you go and use these tools to retopologize it. So you relay out the polygons in a more efficient manner, and then there's your model to animate or whatever. But I kind of, like, there's no fun in that, and there's already enough work, I think, to do shit on our own, and then it's like, I made this model, oh, but I can't use enough to retopologize it. So I don't.
Sorry to hijack the conversation, but one thing I just realized is I've been doing a lot of modeling lately, and because I'm pretty like that.
Nude?
Yeah.
Okay.
So no, I've been doing a lot of modeling, and to avoid topologizing, or whatever the hell how you would say it, I've been making my models in Cinema 4D look like the models from that Bruce Springsteen music video. That like I Want My MTV song.
Was that Bruce Springsteen?
No, that was
the boss.
Dire Straits.
Yeah.
Oh, Dire Straits.
Yeah, kind of like that's what I've been doing too with my latest little shorts.
Yeah, well, that I've been doing that, and then taking in the ZBrush and doing all my high res modeling. But before I did that, I would have this really low res mesh that had like no topology, it had nothing for the head except for like a square, or except for a cube. And the problem was I couldn't do animation. I couldn't do cool animation with it with the face, and also some of the finer details would get kind of warped going from ZBrush back to Cinema 4D.
Yeah,
so
because there wasn't enough geometry.
If anyone wants to like really make cool models really quickly, think of that Dire Straits video and make your models look like that initially.
Yeah, the thing is, you just have to make sure you have enough loops. Like, not a ton of them. Well, the way you get loops is like, even if you just had a box, then you would go to the knife tool and go into loop mode. And if you look at good topology, it's because they have these loops throughout the body in certain places. It's called flow. And so you'd want to go through and make sure there's enough of those, because if you have like one polygon in Cinema 4D and then you take it to ZBrush and subdivide it a bunch of times and try to use sub-polygon displacement or normal map, but in Cinema 4D it's still one polygon, so it can't do much with it.
Well, the one thing I've been doing that everyone can do that's really easy is first you would do the knife tool, or you would give it enough segments, and then you would take the inner extrude tool to make all your loops by taking like one polygon and then inner extrude like several times.
Oh, I like the loop cutting.
Oh, yeah.
Or you can make your model in ZBrush with Z-spheres, because that gives you really good topology right off the bat anyway. But that's if you want a connected mesh.
I can't. Maybe you could help me on this, but I really can't make a model using Z-spheres have a good topology in the face, especially for animating the mouth.
Oh, what you need to do, you need to use subtractive Z-spheres for the eyes and the mouth. So if you make a small Z-sphere and you push it in, it turns transparent, and then that will go subtract from it, so it actually gives you the perfect circle loops for a mouth or for eyes.
Well, I kind of do that, but the only problem is I have to bump up the resolution of that model enough to actually have the topology from the get-go.
Well, how low are you trying to go?
I was trying to go pretty low. I mean, I need all the polygon count in the head, not the rest of the body.
Yeah. Well, you could have the head as a separate subtool, so then the body could be super low and the head could be a little higher.
But then there's a segmentation between the head and the body. Like I did that with the Binding of Isaac video, the Halloween update video. I did the head separately because I was having issues with the head not either having too much having enough resolution and the body having too much, or the body having just enough resolution and the head had too little. But the problem is, if you look at that video, in some of the shots, you actually just see like the segment, it's like the separation between the head and the neck, kind of like it's an action figure.
Yeah, there was a really old book I read called like Creating 3D Characters, and it had all these tricks on how to have a segmented character and hide the segments. And it was stuff like, that's why a character will have like a bow tie or some kind of thing around their wrist or a belt, and that's where people usually hide
isn't that what they did with like Hanna-Barbera cartoons, so that they can animate just the head
separately? But I guess the thing you could do for that is to say you made your model, your whole model with Z-spheres, super low res, and then you converted it to a poly mesh, and then subdivided like the body, as much as you want, and then the head you gave it more, or let's say no, you made super low poly in ZBrush, sent it to Cinema 4D, then sliced up the face and gave that more detail and left the body alone, and then brought it back into ZBrush. So then you'd have more detail in the head, less in the body, and then you can do what you need to do.
I usually like to slice up the face and leave the body alone.
and this is your diary as a serial killer.
Yes.
That's what it sounds like. Well, I think maybe on another note, that's why 3D artists or people become like loners or weirdos, because I mean you're boning models and you're slicing up their faces by yourself alone in front of a computer. So yeah, if any of you guys out there, people out there feel like a weirdo, don't, you know, it just comes with the craft. But yeah, so on that note of slicing up bodies, how about it's time for us to have our first guest on the Forever Alone Filmmaking podcast. And the reason I thought this guest would be interesting is because this guest was doing 2D animation in Flash without really being taught or knowing how to do it. And that's always a good thing, I think, for people to hear about or learn about. And then our first guest, Emily Youcis, is in art school. We're going to art school. And like, I never went to art school, and I'm sure that I get emailed by a lot of people asking me if they should go, so if she could tell us, you know, something about that, I think that would be awesome too. So welcome to the Forever Alone Filmmaking podcast, Emily.
Hey guys, what's going on?
So why don't
you hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you fine. So
Okay.
Why don't you tell us how and why you started doing animation?
Well, I always wanted to do animation since I was a kid. Like, when I was like 5, I cut out little 5x5 squares of paper, and I like did a whale going up a hill, like with crayons, but you know, that didn't go too far because, you know, well, my mom had a camera, but it didn't really do like, you know, animation, stop by stop or whatever thing. It didn't work.
Yeah.
But then, like, when I was 14, I heard about this program called Macromedia Flash that came out, and so I was like, finally, I can do an animation. So that's how I got started.
And you made a bunch of them in Flash.
Yeah. Oh,
What-
wait, also when I was, like, 12, I think I really started animating when I was 12, because there was this, like, stupid little camera called an Intel Play camera, and I would, like, draw the frames and, like, photograph it with the camera. And I did, like, a bunch of crap there, but it was, like, you know, really crappy, because it was just, like, bunches of pieces of paper photographs. But yeah, but so like I really started doing it when I got Flash.
So did you want to tell stories with like fantasy characters, or were you in love with animation, or what was like the driving force?
Probably stories, because I always wrote books and stories, and I'd always play games when I was a kid with like characters and like revolutions and like war and stuff, and then I'd write books about them. So it's probably that. But I always wanted to like express, I guess, like act through like animation. So I guess I also really just had a desire to animate too.
Drawing was the most accessible form. So how come you never mess with like stop motion or doing puppets because you didn't have the camera?
I did do stop motion with that stupid Intel Play thing when I was like 12. I made like stuff with action figures and stuff, and but I didn't. I guess I just like to draw more, so I stuck with that.
Hearing us talking about this 3D stuff, or from what you've seen from that, if that was really accessible back then, do you think you would have done that, or is it still too technical and like not fun?
I don't think I could have comprehended that at 14, let alone knew how to do what programs or whatever. Like, I still don't think I would. I guess I could figure out if Jimmy Kramer really taught me, but like I'm still like total, like you guys all talking before here, like I don't know what the fuck you're talking about. Like there's somewhat of an idea, but not really anything.
Yeah, because I'm kind of like, you know, people that want to make movies or animation, like, yeah, we just want to express an idea or something, and it's just there are certain types or ways to do it that are harder and more complicated than others, and yeah, the most accessible one is to put a pen on a paper. So it's just like, what I'm trying to get at is like, if it was easy, whatever is the most accessible, we would all do it. It's just that some are, you know, easier than others, so that's what we go to. So
yeah, well,
if you could have picked up some little doll and then moved it around and then it made it into 3D animation, you probably would have done that, right? It's not just like you didn't like 3D or stop motion.
Probably not. I'm sorry, but like when I was like younger, I was always like busting on Pixar and shit. Like, there's no more 2D shit anymore. it's all this stupid 3D shit and Pixar. But, you know, Jimmy Creamer and stuff, like, made me appreciate the 3D animation thing. And I would love to do it now. That would be fun.
So, yeah, but, I mean, you can separate, like, yeah, it's Pixar or whatever, but, I mean, someone like you or Jimmy, like, oh, well, you can make the stuff you want to see. It's not like the medium, right? It's just, like, what people are doing with it.
Yeah.
It's like, I hate acoustic guitar music, you know? Like, I don't know if it's because of an acoustic guitar or if it's the music people are making with it.
Right, but you like acoustic songs if they're played by an electric guitar?
No. I don't know. Yeah, that's what I'm thinking about when you're talking about 3D and Pixar. I'm like, what to you was that like the acoustic guitar is to me? Like, fucking 3D sucks. So.
I don't think that anymore. Like, that was back in the day.
Because that's all you saw.
Yeah, like, movie after movie would come out and be, like, for the kids.
But you saw 2D that wasn't like that, or drawn animation, so that pulled you more to 2D?
Yeah, well, yeah, they didn't have too many 3D animations when I was a kid, right? Like, it was mostly just, like, Disney and, like, 2D stuff. And that's where I, like All Dogs Go to Heaven, like, I would just, like, press pause over and over again and, like, see how the dog moved frame by frame. That's, like, how I learned how to do it.
So yeah, I'm just trying, because, you know, like 3D, it's pretty new for just random people to be using it to make stuff, and it's kind of been a trend too that I always like hate on, is that when people do it, they try to do it, or they do shit like Pixar where it's just all nice and family, whatever, and it's like, you can do whatever you want with it, not just, you know.
Oh yeah, you can do it. Yeah, anything.
As, you know, our friend right there, Jimmy, has proven. And a lot of people might say you shouldn't be doing that. The anti-Pixar. So
you started out not using a tablet, right? You started out just doing it by the mouse, and then you switched to a tablet later on.
Yeah, I only got the tablet like 3 years ago, and I haven't done so most of the stuff I've done with just like a ball mouse.
Wait a minute, so you were drawing in Flash with a mouse?
Yeah.
Oh my god, what is your wrist like wrapped in bandages and...
I don't know. I don't remember getting wrist pains too much, just back pains.
But that's kind of what it's like, right? Like, you just did it. Like, you just wanted to do it. And then you probably meet people who are like, what? You didn't use this Superscript extension and blah, blah, blah.
Oh, that's just gay.
So you just, you straight up did it frame by frame? Did you use, like, actions and stuff to loop stuff? Or did you do it straight forward, like traditional 2D?
I don't know what an action is. Like, I probably should, though.
You know, or in Flash, you know, you can loop stuff, like loop legs running or something and just keep it
playing.
Oh,
yeah.
Did you do that kind of stuff?
I didn't use action script, but, like, tweens. Like, if I could, I would use the tweens. But, like, if it's necessary, I'd do frame by frame. Just, you know, like, onion skin stuff.
And your stuff's that stuff you did is on YouTube, right?
It's all primarily on Newgrounds, but then other people uploaded it to YouTube.
What are the names of some of the films so people can go check them out?
The most popular one is Rise of Alfred. It's about this dog who becomes manager of a Taco Bell or Burrito Bell in this case, and he becomes corrupt, and he imagines that he's like a dictator, so he gets all the employees and like kills them and stuff, and isolates himself eventually in the end, and becomes alone. So that one's a good one. And then Alfred's Playhouse, that's a trilogy. That's like one I did later when I was 17, and it's like more, you get sucked into his brain, and it's more fucked up.
Right, so people can go check those out. Rise of Alfred.
And Alfred's Playhouse.
Alfred's Playhouse. Yeah, I think I saw Alfred's Playhouse. It was pretty fucking...
I think I sent you the first one.
Yeah.
I just really like Alfred's Playhouse.
Yeah, James, you were a fan, right?
Yeah, actually, I saw all her animations when they were on Newgrounds, when they were first coming out.
Really?
I used to really be into Newgrounds back in the day. So, and I was like, oh, this is really cool. So,
Oh shit, like 2006, 2007?
Yeah.
Wow,
In fact,
that's awesome.
I've been on, I was on Newgrounds pretty heavy back when there was no portal. It was just Pico's School and all that. And I was on Newgrounds until pretty heavy until like 2008. So it's pretty cool because if no one's familiar with Newgrounds, it was a really cool place for people to put up their animations, and it was a really cool community because you could learn what you could do with Flash and what you couldn't do with Flash. And unfortunately,
it's still around, though.
Yeah, it's still around, but unfortunately, I don't think, considering it's like the YouTube generation now, and unfortunately the Flash tools aren't really built for exporting as anything other than a Flash.
Well, and what people started doing was like converting videos to like Flash format and putting up videos or like stop motion, and I mean it was first about Flash. I mean that's where like David Firth got really popular and stuff, right?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Because that's where I first saw his stuff. And so now you're in art school now, Emily.
Yeah, I should be graduating this year, but I screwed up a bit with the gen ed, so I get an extra semester, thank God. And
so already making a bunch of stuff before you went to art school, like what did you learn from art school or from people that haven't gone but make stuff? What did it do to you, or what can you tell us about it?
Well, before when I made all my, like, other stuff, I was, like, you know, a real isolated kid. Like, I didn't know what any music was. Like, I didn't know what metal was until college. I didn't know what punk was until college. Like, I like, my furthest everything went was, like, Queen, probably. Queen was, like, the broadest musical thing. So I had, like, no influences or no, like really any, like, I haven't seen too much. But then when I got to art school, I got to know a whole bunch of artists, and I got to know, like, painters, and they told me about different artists that did the same stuff that I did and have been doing the same stuff for years. So, like, being able to, like, see yourself in that history was a really, I think, important thing the school taught me. I mean, of course, I could have learned that all by myself. Like, I could have gone on the internet and just looked it all up, but I guess I didn't really... I guess I needed it to be, like, forced on me, or I wouldn't have gone beyond myself. Maybe. Who knows?
Did you think, is that a good thing?
Yeah, I definitely, because I could have just, like, not explored anything and kept trying to make stuff, but I probably would have just imploded and stuff. But, like, I need, like, all the influences and all the extra sensory stimuli I can get, so... so it's good that they taught me all that stuff.
Is there stuff from going to art school that, like, surprised you or you were shocked about?
I don't know.
Well, actually, tell us how your painting classes work, because this kind of trips me out a little bit.
Yeah. Well, ever since I became a senior, there's, like, this thing, Senior Studio, and they give you, like, a little cute, like, a studio, and then they have 4 critiques a year. And that's, like, 4 critiques a semester, I mean. And that's when they talk about your work. And then other than that, there's nothing that's due. Like, they say you have to work at least 10 hours a week.
But it's like they don't actually, there's not like a class. They don't teach you, like, this is how you paint, or like, this is technique or anything, right? They just come in. Yeah, they just kind of come in and look at the paintings, and then they're like, this is good, this is bad.
Yeah,
right?
This is good, this is bad, look at this person, goodbye.
Huh. You know, that always tripped me out about art school, because I'm horrible. I'm getting better. I'm horrible with, like, criticism. But is that something they make you, like, you have to get used to? You have to be critiqued in art school?
I don't know how to feel about the critiques. Because on the one hand, you know, I want to be disciplined. But on the other hand, I just want to do it like, I don't want anyone to influence me at all. And I don't like the shame that comes with it. I don't like the pressure. I don't like the... like, you have to do this, like, turning my art into, like, a work thing.
Rather than something personal. It's like, no, it's this thing. Is that what... Is that what you mean?
Yeah, it's like this like thing you get to do superiority. But then again, isn't that like I don't think you can escape that. I mean, I did all my stuff somewhat to get superiority.
Well, I guess kind of my issue is like I've never been to art school, but when I was in school, or from what I've seen, like a lot of the teachers are like, unless there's some people I look up to, you know, like I don't really want to hear their advice because I want to be like them, you know. So I think a lot of times art school, it's like they're failed artists or they suck. So it's like, why would I listen to this dude's critique if like I don't want to be like him or her? That's a
good thing, but there are some people that are good out there.
Oh
there
yeah,
are
definitely.
some people that do full advice. But yeah, I know. I shouldn't take what they say to heart. I shouldn't. But stuff they have said has like, you know, made me go in like completely different directions that I've never gone in before. But really, I think you have to, you know, listen to your gut, but, you know, take in all that you can, I guess.
Yeah, I just wonder, like, because, you know, sometimes people just say things to say things. Like, it's a critique. So even if they think it's dope or whatever, they might be like, well, yeah, but the colors.
Yeah, exactly. They always go for, like, a technical shit, like formalities. Then you all get hung up on the formalities or whatever. And they're, like I have paintings about, like, you know, a pig, like, holding up, like, a severed penis and, like, a guy in a mask, like, raping and slitting the throat of this girl, and, like, a dog, like, tentacle raping this, like, schoolgirl dog. They don't even talk about that. They talk about, well, this doesn't have enough space, or the colors have to relate to the space. And they're always telling me I need more space.
Because, see, that's the thing I never got. It's like, I don't know, we're making art, but who are we making it for? Like, those people that know that shit, or for regular people who don't care? You know, like, regular people aren't going to be like, the space, the colors, it'll affect them in a certain way, but so that's kind of what issue I had with critiques or that kind of stuff.
And when you do critiques, they're students and teachers, right? Like, it's a whole group of people?
Yeah.
So you critique other people's stuff then, too?
Yeah.
So I'm sure there's a lot of, like, personal stuff that gets thrown into it, and, like, yeah, this bitch said stuff about mine, so I'm going to be like, no, hell no, like, it's all wrong.
No, like, surprisingly, people are, like, really, like, ooh, I'm afraid to step on your toes, I'm afraid to say something that's going to hurt your feelings.
Huh. I guess I shouldn't go to art school then. I'll be like, oh yeah, I'm going to fuck this dude up.
You should. That's what they need. They need people that are, then give it to them straight. But see, I got it given to me straight recently by these two lady teachers who fucking took my painting style. I was doing, like, figurative stuff. And then he just said, you're making the paint secondary to the imagery. It should be, the imagery should, the paint should come first and then the imagery. And I was like, you know what, you're right, because I can save the imagery for, like, drawing. So they gave it to me straight, and it hurt my feelings, it made me feel bad. I went and had dollar beers, but then I completely flipped around. I did a flip over with the style thing, so.
So would you say it was, like, art school was, like, a positive experience for you?
Well, yeah, despite, like, all, like, this kind of seemingly futility stuff, like, I did get to meet a bunch of, like, people, and, I know you say we have to be alone. I know.
It's alright. So, are you going to make animations again? Are you planning to make more little films and stuff like that? Cartoons?
Yeah. I've been working on, over Christmas break, I did this Eat My Rotten Meat music video for MC Bushpig. So, and I want to keep doing that. I think in the summertime, that's when I'm really going to do the animation again. Because then I'll be doing the Pistachio Girl thing. That's my job. And then when I'll do that part-time, and then I'll animate the rest of the day. So I'll do the Eat My Rotten Meat. And so
that's something that's coming out soon from you, Eat My Rotten Meat?
Yeah, it's already in progress, and it's really good so far.
Okay.
But now I have to do the college. But then when I'm done with the college, you know, I can go back.
And you're going to do that stuff in Flash?
Yeah.
Sweet. And then, since we're trying to make everyone like us, and then in the future you're going to try 3D animation, right? And totally do Pixar stuff.
I would like to. I would like Jimmy to teach me the thing. It would
Come
be
on, Jimmy Screamer Claus.
The thing I have to teach her.
Hey, he's getting a
I'm really bad at paying attention.
I heard he's getting a 6-camera setup. You should get on that.
Yeah. Well, she did some of the motion capture for my Butcher's Harem video. She played Cumblood a few times.
There you go. Already in the game. Well, thanks for being our first guest on our little podcast, Emily.
Oh, thanks a lot for having me.
And if there's anything you want to tell people about to go check out right now, please do so.
You can buy the Alfred mixtape at Dranconian Film.
It's on my website, just screamerclothes.com.
Yeah. And, look up Alfred's Playhouse, parts 1, 2, and 3.
Okay.
And Emily Youcis at my band, Emily Youcis and the Vagrants.
Emily Youcis
and she does some live action stuff called Smut Cave and the Emily Show that's on YouTube.
So if people Google all that stuff, they'll find it.
Yeah.
Okay, sweet. Well, thanks for being on the podcast.
Thanks for having me.
Sure, and good luck to you on all your projects and art.
Oh, you too. I'd love to be back anytime.
All right, awesome.
Okay. Bye.
Now, Emily's totally leaving our professional studios, so we can now get to some listener questions. And I saved these for last because they're not totally on topic of like filmmaking. I don't think really. Did you guys look at these questions?
I looked at them. I don't remember what they are specifically though.
Okay.
I touched myself while looking at them.
Okay. That's also off topic. Okay, let's answer some of these questions. Let me ask you this one first, Jimmy Screamer Claus.
Okay.
The question is, do you think you guys would be able to express yourselves creatively if you were born in an earlier time period, like ancient times or the early 1900s? If so, how would you have done this?
I do wonder that all the time myself, because most of my art is just based on the fact that I can use technology pretty good. Like all my music, like I don't know how to play any instruments. All my music is just software based, and all my well, actually, when I was in high school, I took keyboard synthesizer class, so I did learn how to read music and translate music and sight read and everything. But then, as soon as I just started doing electronic music, that all just went away. I don't know how to do any of that stuff anymore. So I really don't know.
So what would you do? Sure, would you just be nuts? How would you express yourself creatively?
That might be what happened. I might have just left bodies in ditches all over the country instead of making it in 3D place.
So technology has allowed some people to, stay amongst the living.
Exactly. Okay. It saved a lot of lives, really.
Oh, all right. What about you, James?
Well, I don't think it's a matter of whether or not I would be able to express myself creatively. Yeah, I think it's a matter of whether or not I would be able to express myself, because I've always wanted to do stuff, but I didn't know how to really find my voice until I exposed myself to as much things as much people as possible. And
you mean your genitals?
Yes.
Okay.
My genitals. It's kind of like that movie Lawnmower Man, when Job was really he was an idiot.
That's played by Jeff Fahey.
VR machine. He got into the VR machine and made him super smart. That's me and the internet. I was kind of stupid until the internet.
So I guess I'm kind of different from you guys, because when I first started, when I was a teenager, I used to write just a ton of stories. And I guess I think I would have been a writer. That's what I would have done.
I used to write a lot of stories too. I never would have been able to translate them though.
Really? Because I was into that, and then it's like, oh, I want to make these animations or make these movies, but I think if I couldn't, I would just write. And then, it's like when you know how to make an image, when you're writing, you don't really put that much description in the writing, because you're like, I'll just make the image. I don't have to explain it. So I guess you'd have to retrain your brain to be like, okay, you can't make any of these pictures for people to see, so then you have to make the pictures in words. So it's a different thing, but I think that's what I would do. But I'm glad I live in this age, because it's pretty awesome that we have all these tools and how fucking easy they are. Even 20 years ago, whatever, it would have sucked.
And sometimes when they make it easier, I almost feel guilty. Like I'm doing even less now. So it's like I almost feel a little bit guilty about it, but then that
Well,
goes away quickly, too.
but that's that whole thing, though. You know, it's like, are we craftsmen or are we artists? Is it our thing to do the crafts? Like, you know, if I could have a machine, if I could just envision this mountain and this forest I want modeled, and if I could just plug into the computer and it would be made, would I feel guilty? I'd be like, nah, sweet, I can make my movie faster. So, you know, if we're about the ideas and expressing them, there's nothing to feel guilty about. If we're about the craft and doing everything and having good topology and all that shit, then there is. But I guess it just depends what kind of person you are, you know? So, here's another question. This person asks, where do you stand on are video games art? James, you want to answer that first?
Well, I think it goes back to what you were saying about craft and artistry. I think a lot of games are really well crafted, but they really don't. You really can't judge them beyond their technical ability. I mean, you can't really criticize them or pull away ideas from them. Although, I'm talking about mainstream games. Then there's my friend Edmund McMillan, who did Super Meat Boy and Binding of Isaac. Buy them now because they're cheap. Even though they're fun games to play, there's so many ideas that went into them and so much heart and soul that went into them that was beyond the technical craftsmanship of those games that really, I think, made them art pieces. And you can find that a lot in the indie game world, where
like experimental games, right? Like that LSD simulator. Have you ever seen that?
Oh yeah, and
that's like totally art.
It doesn't necessarily have to be experimental games. I mean, there's a lot of engines out there, pre-made engines to make a platformer, to make strategy games, to make whatever. And now that those engines are freely available, people take those engines and then kind of put their heart and soul into the games using those engines. In the same way we use motion capture and the ZBrush, whatever, we just put our whole heart and soul into that and to make our art.
I don't see how they cannot be art, because if you go into an art gallery, it's like this room that some craftsmen or some other people made, and then some artist comes and puts their stuff in the room and maybe even plays music or whatever, and then that's art. So it's like a game. Yeah, you didn't make the engine, but you can go in there and put your imagery and your sounds and give someone an experience. So I don't see the difference between the two. So I mean, yeah, like the first time I played an almost mainstream game and I thought it was art was like Killer 7, you know, and I was playing that and I was like, you know, I don't really like this as a game, but it's pretty sweet as like art. But so I mean, myself, I think yes, video games are art, and I want to get into it so I can, because I have a bunch of crazy ideas I want to do in the game world that aren't necessarily goal-oriented games, but more like experiences, you know. So we agree that they're art, can be.
Yeah, I definitely think there are. I mean, they have stories most of the time now too. Although I usually skip the cutscenes. I mean, and they have actors in them, and they have somebody modeling all these characters.
And I mean,
stuff.
And it's experience, right? Like you're in there, and you're like, oh shit, you feel stuff.
It's like just because it's almost like just because you're controlling the character, almost it like doesn't get considered to be art anymore. Which I don't know. I just find that weird. I definitely consider them art, especially because there's also good ones and there's bad ones. Like you can tell them apart, and they can be judged like that and graded and.
Yeah, I guess when it becomes interactive, like when there's more open worlds or you can go do stuff that you want. If it's a game where it's just pretty much focused and you have no freedom and you just have to follow this track and there's time, maybe not or something. I don't know, but you have freedom. But yeah. So when we were talking about,
I mean, but then what else would it really be though? If it's not art, what else could it really be called?
Just entertainment.
You know?
Well, I would say it would be a craft. If it wasn't art, it would be a craft. Just like a chair could be art if it actually had, you can judge it beyond, you know, it being a chair. But if you can't judge it as other than, you know, this is a comfy chair, that's a craft. So like in the same way, like a Modern Warfare, it's, you know, if it's tight to play, it's really easy to get through. You know, the voice acting is pretty cool, and this looks cool. But at the end of the day, I'm not thinking about Modern Warfare or Call of Duty when I'm sitting at home, sitting at work. I'm not thinking of it when I'm talking to friends.
I think it's just like movies. There's some movies that are straight up entertainment, and there's some movies that are art. So it's kind of the same thing for games.
I think most games have that Michael Bay Jim Wynorski, just entertainment, which is fine. You know, that entertainment value put first. But I think there are communities and there's one-offs of video games that actually have an artistry to them. And even though I don't like them, the Final Fantasy games certainly are an art form, considering how much thought has been put into them beyond the technical aspect.
Yeah.
I mean, the technical aspect is you hit attack and you attack the monster, but everything put into those games is a lot more in depth.
Yeah. So video games are art. Now, last week we were talking about different ways to try to distribute digital films and stuff like that, or show them, and someone gave me a link to a site that I had never heard of. Have you guys heard of SyncTube?
Yes.
Yeah.
No.
So it's a site where you can synchronize a YouTube video or SoundCloud clip or a bunch of different things and have a bunch of people chatting and watching the same thing in real time.
Mm-hmm.
And since you've seen it before, whatever, what do you think about it, Jimmy, as far as like a way to distribute films or show your films or something like that?
Well, I used to think it was awesome. I used to go on 4chan, they have a paranormal section. So like people would go on the paranormal section, put a link up on SyncTube, like, hey, everybody come in here now, watch scary videos and submit your own. So you'd go in there and there'd be like 20 or 30 complete strangers from around the world all watching the videos that anyone could add to the playlist to. So you can theoretically put your movies in there, your friends' movies, or anybody's movies. And I found I'd go in there every now and then and just put in one of my movies, or sometimes I'd put in one of yours, M-Dot, or one of Emily's. Mm-hmm. And I just, usually it would be a 3-hour wait before your video would get picked, and I just wouldn't have that time. So I'd come by like the next day or two, again, to another room, and people had re-added those videos again, like it had worked. Like they had discovered them and started passing them around themselves.
Because you know what I thought about? Like, I look at us, and aren't we like the midnight movie makers of today? Like
pretty much, yeah.
David Lynch and Joe Dorowski and all those guys were just making weird-ass shit. So where is our midnight movie theater? Is this it, Jimmy Screamer Claus?
Well, the thing is, it just kind of died out. Like, they don't really do it anymore. Like, I go on 4chan, the paranormal section all the time. They don't really do the SyncTube rooms anymore. Or they do, but they're specific by subject. Like, which watch Are You Afraid of the Dark together? But I mean, if you can if you could time it so that your movie was showing at the time when everyone was in there, which I did, got lucky a couple times, and people would just critique it as it was playing, not even really knowing,
Did it seem like you were in a room with people? Like, if it was it kind of like you're just in front of a TV or a movie screen watching shit with people?
Yeah, kind of. It was just a chat room. It's just a basic chat room. I mean, I remember back when I was a teenager, like when the internet first got big, they used to do that on MTV. Like during a block of videos, like they'd have you can chat on TV with other people. And it kind of felt like that.
So you think, because I always think about that when I was reading about the history of these like weird filmmakers who broke through into whatever, and they all had like, well, I think there's a documentary about midnight movies, and they talk about all the guys who made films that were just too fucking weird and no one got or didn't, and then they played at midnight all the time, and then that's how they got popular. So I was like, well, yeah, we're pretty much making midnight movies, but where's
that was a good documentary.
Where's our midnight movie theater?
Well, the thing that was good about it was because it was random. But now it's like if you don't have the 4chan element to it or one of those kind of random sites where it's not like user-based, then it just becomes the same people every time. So it's like you can have a SyncTube channel still and put all your videos on it, but then people got to find it through that site or you got to post it somewhere.
That's funny that you say it's the same people, because I mean that's what made midnight movies popular, was like the same people would go back every week or every month. Like when I was living in Santa Monica, they have the New Art, which is a theater there. That's where Eraserhead played for like I don't know how many years and got popular, and they still have it every Friday at midnight. That's where I saw Cannibal Holocaust, and they show all kinds of just midnight movies there at midnight, and like fucking 700 people show up. So wow. I was just like, is that it? Is there one in your town? I know there's one here that plays midnight movies, but
yeah, there's one here too. There's been a few here. I used to go to them all the time. I still go now and then. They're actually doing one next month in Stroudsburg, a town right by me, and they're doing like a VHS convention where they're having all vendors come in with rare horror VHSs, and they're doing like a short film festival where people can submit stuff in and everything. So
because at midnight, it's like people expect, okay, this is going to be some fucked up shit or some shit that's not normal or weird, right? It's not like they're going to the regular cinema and are going to see a normal movie, so people's kind of preconceptions like change.
And they have horror movie conventions. They have movie screenings at them now too. Sometimes at midnight, but usually throughout the day as well.
I honestly think our generation's midnight movies is like Jimmy said before. Well, like Jimmy mentioned before, 4chan. It's not necessarily a video site, but you know, that's the audience that would dig really bizarre stuff. Like you can't just put it on YouTube and expect. You can't put something bizarre on YouTube and expect people to find it. You know, YouTube is generally an audience that wants to see babies singing about farting. If you use 4chan, it's like, hey, I have this video about, you know, this guy with a baby face that's been, you know, having sex with women. They will be like, oh, let me check this shit out, you know. So it's sites like 4chan or Space Ghetto. It's the bizarre websites that people are afraid to go to.
What about like virtual 3D places like Second Life, or I know there's one in the PlayStation, like if you have PlayStation 3, they have like a 3D, or I think Nintendo has one too.
The PlayStation's is called Home. I don't know what Nintendo's is called.
Because I know they have virtual movie theaters in there, and you can like watch stuff with people or something too.
Honestly, I think the audiences in those places are pretty much the same audiences that would view the most popular stuff on YouTube. I mean, it's a different venue, yes, but I don't think it's our venue. I don't think it's the midnight screening venue. I don't think there is any streaming website that is specifically dedicated to stuff like that.
So you think, yeah, there's places where weirdos are, or that people want stuff that's not normal, and yeah, something like SyncTube or some. It's just about bringing those people together, right? So they can have a place to be like around similar people with similar interests and kind of interact like a real movie, like SyncTube. But
I mean, there's places where videos like Roller Muscle, or whatever the hell it was called, got popular. And those are the places that we need to go. And honestly, I think that's like 4chan, that's something awful. I don't know about E-Bombs World. I don't know if that exists anymore.
And
I think it's still around.
You know, that I've observed, something I'm part of, like, if anything is too commercial or a blatant advertisement or just trying to make money or sell shit, then usually they don't do well in places like that, right?
Right.
It has to be something that seems sincere, or like would be just be one guy made the shit, right? Something kind of like that.
Yeah, I think that's why we, our generation of midnight movie makers would thrive in places like that. Because honestly, I don't think you Jimmy, or you Dot really make movies to find the money. I mean, that's a good side effect if that happens. But you really just want an audience to see it, and that's pretty much. That's geared to, like, the 4chan audience just wants to see stuff. They don't want to be, have to buy something from you. They don't want to be advertised to.
Or even where they might just hate your face then, and even if you are just a guy, they'll just hate you too. So
yeah, absolutely.
You have to be lucky.
It can really go either way on that site.
Yeah. But wasn't it the same way with like the midnight theaters? You know, there was some stuff that was probably bizarre, but didn't make its way in those theaters.
Oh, I'm sure. Yeah, I'm sure we just hear about the ones that were successful, but
yeah.
I mean, I always thought that was an inspirational story with the Eraserhead, where it took David Lynch forever to make it, and then he finished it, and it got rejected from Cannes and like all the big film festivals, and then someone at the LA Film Festival said, "Oh, we'll play it," and it played there, nothing happened, and then some guy who worked for the theater said, "Hey, I want to play this at midnight," and then they played it, and then like after 3 years, like, it got a following, and then Mel Brooks saw it and then gave him the job to do The Elephant Man. But yeah, if he wouldn't have had that midnight screening, who knows?
If you want to take it into the new internet era, the festivals and theaters that would play Eraserhead back then are now the Tumblr accounts and the blogs and the bizarre message boards on the internet.
Speaking of that, James, we were talking about, someone asked about making a forum for the show, and you think we should make a Tumblr page that anybody can submit stuff to.
Mm-hmm. I think a forum would involve too much administrative,
signing up and blah blah blah.
Whereas with a Tumblr, anyone could submit it. If it's not on topic, it's easy to pull off, and also it's more focused. I think a forum is more like, a forum would be like, oh, this is this topic and this is this topic. Whereas with a Tumblr account, you can be like, oh, well, this is all about, show stuff. If you want to, if you want to ask us questions, if you want to ask each other questions, if you find something really cool, it's all going through one channel.
That sounds great. You should totally set it up.
I will totally set it up. I was thinking about also Pinterest, but that looks like a crafting site now, so it's probably going to set up a Tumblr account.
Okay.
So I'll set up a Tumblr account. I'll give out the information to you, M-Dot, and I assume
yeah, hopefully next show
of the show will have a URL for people to go to.
Because yeah, I mean, part of our goal is just for us three, we're just we do similar things, or we want to do similar things, so it's for us to talk about it because we have the same kind of interests and problems, whatever. But it's also for people out there that are maybe on the fence, or like, this is too hard, or I don't know what I'm doing, and for them to maybe get inspired, to get some ideas. And then, I mean, the best thing, like Emily was talking about art schools, when you can fucking meet other people who do the same, or artists who are doing the same thing, and because that's what we can kind of do. So our last, this question will be funny to answer. The last question is, has being an independent artist ever gotten you any females? You want to answer that first, James?
Who, me? It never got me females.
Oh my God, James did.
No, it's I don't know. I think it drove people away because it's like they keep on talking about movie stuff, and it's like, oh well, you can't really. There's no instant gratification. Like if with a musician, they can play their guitar or whatever, and they're like, oh my God, it's a guitarist. And with a filmmaker, it's like, oh well, I'm troubled because I have this film idea, and it's going to take me months and months and months to do.
So you mean that's like not the stereotype, like, hey baby, I got this movie idea. Oh my God. Yeah. I love Topo. Oh wow.
It'll start off like that, and then a few months into it, it's like, get away from your computer and
Dude,
stop it.
It's just mass media. There needs to be more movies where like dudes like us that work in rooms alone in basements with a bunch of computers and talk to dolls are like heroes, and then then the whole perception will change. Mm-hmm. Right? Mm-hmm. Maybe instead of computer chairs, we should have like Harley like seats, and instead of mice, we should use like handlebars. Would that make us more badass and have more appeal to the opposite or same sex?
It might. Well, I mean, all three of us.
Just piloting my hog.
I think we need to be like shirtless and waxed and be, like flexing our muscles while we're clicking in ZBrush.
Oh, I know. Get EMS, like electronic muscle stimulators, hooked up all over your body, so when you're doing animation, like you're getting more buff. And you're on your hog. You're like, yeah, I'm just piloting my hog to 3D space, baby. Right?
Yeah, girls don't care about that shit.
Oh my God, a real
You're not
woman?
at the studio anymore.
Oh, sorry.
And we need to play Technotronic all the time. Is it Technotronic?
So that's your answer.
Yeah, Pump Up Jam.
Well, I would say, this, I don't know who this person is asking the question, but if it's like, if you think you're going to get hoes from being like some independent artist, dude, like, no, because, I mean, hoes are dumb anyway, so what do you want with hoes? I mean, obviously people can answer what they want with them, but there's, just like us, we're into different shit, and we appreciate different things in life, and we'll just say there's other people, same sex, different sex, whatever, who may appreciate you because you do something different and have something else to offer than the, Joe Schmo or Joe Schmuck or Johnny Schmuck.
Also, why do you need hoes when you're slicing up models in the face, but leaving their bodies alone?
Yeah, I don't know. Well, because, sometimes, like, I'd be at a film thing or something, and I'd be talking to some presentation, and some dude, like, cheesy dude will come up like, yeah, man, but you get bitches? It's just like, dude, obviously, I'm not doing this because I want to get bitches. Like, I'm
like more than one.
Like,
because one's not enough to satisfy me.
It's a different choice in life, and it's like, it's not, obviously we're not in it for the money or the hoes, or else we'd be doing something else. So, Yeah. Jimmy Screamer Claus, you want anything to that?
No, it's just I'm good. I mean,
Well,
yeah, I mean, you guys said pretty much everything. It's like you
Yeah,
can't. I mean, in my experience, you can sometimes get girls with like, "Oh, I'm an artist," but then when they realize all the work you put into the art, and it's like, "Hey, you're not paying enough attention to me," then you're not like hot to them anymore.
yeah, I kind of found it can only work with other artists.
Yeah, exactly.
And like, I know I don't want to break the stereotype because you know, it's called Forever Alone podcast or whatever, and we're all like, oh no, but I mean, I've had the same girlfriend for like 3 or 4 years now, so I'm not like alone. And I know I like playing that. I'm just like, yo, pour me on computers, and that's what it is most of the time. But yeah, people, you know, there was this whole misconception that like if you're alone all the time on the computers, then you're some like dude who's totally socially inept and like this fucking weirdo who can't talk to people and is all and that's not necessarily the case.
M. Dot, you met me. I am that person.
Well, I didn't want to say anything, James. Hey, but James, I seem to remember when I met you, you were with a real human biological woman.
Yes, but I was still like, so,
Hey guys,
yeah,
but you're pulling the biologicals. That's all that matters.
yeah, absolutely. I mean, like, it's, if anything will hinder you, I mean, like, working on when I was working on, like, the Edmund's trailers for his video games, I would go to the Wawa, which is our, like, 7-Eleven, to get, like, you know, a monster or something. And I wouldn't even be able to say hello to the clerk or thank you. I'd be like, and like throw money at them.
Really?
Get back to my computer.
Well, dude, see, I used to be pretty, like, when I was in college, I was pretty socially awkward. Like, people would talk to me, and I'd just be like, no. Like, because, you know, that's something with art I think is powerful because, you know, like, I played Little League Baseball, and I remember the coach always yell at me, get your head out of your ass. Get your head out of your ass, right? And I was like, what does he mean? Why is he telling me to get my head out of my ass? And I never understood it, right? Until years later when I actually did get my head out of my ass. And what that means is just like, you're so focused and caught up with your own bullshit and your own body and your own mind that you can't pay attention to anything else. So literally you just see your own shit because your head's up your own ass. And then once you take it out of there, which art helps you do, like if you're really truly being creative and expressing yourself, your art will show you your inner demons and your inner bullshit and all the shit you're afraid of and you don't want to face. And then once you face that stuff, your head comes out of your ass, and then you can look around the world and then you can talk to people. The power of art.
What I found is working with, you know, my art, it's like being able to communicate in a much better way. And when I disconnect myself from that, I don't know how to communicate anymore. So it's like it's like having you're normally talk with, you know, you have tongue, you have a teeth, you have lips, and then once you walk away from, you know, whatever you're working on, somebody cuts out your tongue and your lips and rips off your teeth, and they're like, oh, talk to this person at Wawa.
Yeah, actually, dude, I relate to that because, you know, this Heartstring Marionette's been taking forever to finish. And as it's lagged on, it's like I had this big thing I spent all these years on and put all this time and energy, and I can't put it out. I can't communicate that. And that's why I stopped doing YouTube videos where it's like me talking, because it's like, what am I going to say? I don't have anything to say. I still need to say this, and it hasn't been said, so like, So yeah, I think there can definitely be some communication barriers if you're unable to express yourself. So we fully answered that question. The last question for the same from the same person is, which it's really vague and it's kind of a tough one to answer. What do you think about conspiracy theories? Well, I guess what this person's asking, because I mean, a conspiracy theory is just, I mean, what is that? Well, conspiracy theory is just an idea or something that hasn't been, that the status quo doesn't agree is true, or most people don't believe.
It's a conspiracy that hasn't been officially found out or refuted yet.
Speaking of that, you know, it's interesting. Just today, WikiLeaks put out a shit ton of stuff, and part of it was that there's this company called Stratfor that is like an intelligence company that works for Dow Chemical and like the Department of Defense and all these huge Goldman Sachs, all these companies, and like part of their program was like psychological warfare and intimidation and paying people off, and like it pretty much showed the link between the big companies the people that were criticizing them, and they're paying people off, and what people considered a conspiracy theory, but then now here is the actual proof in these emails. Like, read them from these people. So a conspiracy theory could just be something that's true that just hasn't been proven yet, or it hasn't been accepted by the status quo.
Yes.
So for my answer, I'm like, well, they're not conspiracy theories. It's just like, if you have proof or something, just because the status quo doesn't believe it or want to accept it because it collides with their religious or whatever beliefs or dogma that, no, it can't be. So
it's hard sometimes too, because sometimes they do make a lot of sense, but then it's like sometimes you wonder, because a lot of the conspiracy theory dudes are out of their minds too.
Yeah.
So it's
well,
like
I think what this is going at, it's like, if it's not in the mass media, then people will say it's a conspiracy theory.
Yeah, pretty much.
I work with some major companies, and I honestly really don't think many of the conspiracy theories actually could hold up, considering how inept people are when they're trying to go towards a similar goal. I can't tell you how many times I've seen just a string of 50 people who are working on the same project not know a single thing about what they're doing, what their part is, what the goal is.
Need to know basis, my friend.
Yeah, but when that makes it even worse, considering you give this person this abstract goal that'll build into a bigger one. If they're inept at their job, the whole thing falls to pieces. I don't honestly think people are too inept to hold conspiracies, and any conspiracies that really are there.
Let's end it at that. James hating all of humanity, forsaking them, saying everyone is inept. Yes, perfect.
Everybody's stupid.
Everyone is
except me.
Everyone is stupid, including me.
Oh, and that's why we're
James.
Forever Alone filmmakers. Well, that wraps up the 4th episode. So I'd like to thank you guys, and I'd like to thank Emily Youcis for being on the show. And thank you. And so if you guys have anything... Hey, Jimmy Screamer Claus, isn't your stuff for sale now, the new movie?
Yep, Where the Dead Go to Die is officially released on Blu-ray, DVD, and the VHS will be start shipping on Tuesday. So, Tuesday the 28th.
So just go to Amazon and type in Where the Dead Go to Die, and you'll find it all there.
Yep, or unearthedfilms.com, or any of those places. Any of those DVD carry-in places.
And you got anything new, James? You're working on that short film?
I'm working on a short film, probably releasing with it in March. I'm also working on Robotic Holy War.
All right.
No release date on that thing. I'm so early in the project. Everybody can kind of check out my stuff by going to jamesid.com, by going to youtube.com/user/IamJamesId. Go to my Twitter, it's JamesId.
All right.
You know my Facebook? It's facebook.com/JamesId.
Facebook!
You know what my email is? My email is james@jamesid.com.
People are going to stalk you. And we heard about Emily's projects and her stuff. You can go Google and look for out there. And I just put out a new short animation. It's the first episode of my new series called Dark Sided, and it's called Tapeworm Reverse, so people can go check that out.
Oh, and I love preventing forest fires with all my little black little heart.
And yeah, I've been making
I
a
have
bunch of
watched that
shorts.
thing on a loop for days on end.
You have a beautiful singing voice.
That's my favorite part, is when he starts wiggling his arms. He's like, whoa.
So I'll be making more of those, because that's my hardware, render super fast stuff. So you can check that out on my YouTube channel, m.strange, or on my blog website, m.strange.com. And my cat's meowing, so I have to let him out. And until next time, my Forever Alone filmmaker friends and everyone listening, goodbye.
Bye.
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 Thank you for listening to the Forever Alone Filmmaking Podcast. If you have any questions, please leave them in the comments section wherever this shit is posted. We'll do our best to answer them in a future show. We'll have more guests, animators, filmmakers, weirdos, who create alone. Until next time. It's a lonely world, but someone's gotta do it. Because Hollywood fucking sucks.